What's up, guys? Today, we are going to be talking about choices. And in fact, the Bible talks about what we sow and what we reap is a big, big deal. And we're going to talk about how to make those good choices next.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, this is the Mike Charleston Show, and I am Mike Charleston. How are you doing? And today we got Sarah with us.
Hello, everybody.
Today we got Chuck.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, that's right. And we have Larry.
I'm still Larry.
Yes, and I lost that one. Yeah, that's right.
I'm still Larry.
Oh, thank you for listening. And which, by the way, we are experimenting with some of the live streaming. I know there's a couple people on the live stream, but we don't really tell people this a lot, and we should promote our own show. Yeah. But if you want to listen to this, if you're on YouTube, then you can go to the podcast. And if you're on the podcast, you can go to YouTube and watch it if you want.
Wow.
But yeah, how about that?
You've got options.
You've got choices. That's right. You've got choices. And in fact,
that's what we're talking about.
That is what we're talking about today.
Well, it's nice to know that you don't have to look at us to listen.
That is true.
That is very nice to know.
That is very true.
Hey, I showered and all that, so people.
Well, we didn't say smell you.
Well, that's true, but I even brushed my hair. If you can, it doesn't look like it. Never mind.
Anyway,
let's just carry on.
So anyway, we were the other day. I was like I always do. I pick up Psychology Today, and I was looking at the website Psychology Today, and I was curious at some choices, and it got me thinking about, what are the most important choices that people make in their life? And actually, what do you think, according to Psychology Today, what was the number one choice that people think is the most important?
People think it's most important, or psychologists think are the most important?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if they polled psychologists or they polled people.
I think psychologists are people.
That's true. Psychologists are people too.
We're talking about lawyers. That'd be easy.
So I would probably say that they would. I think in general public, they're probably talking about occupation.
Okay, what would you say, Larry?
Marriage.
I don't know where that one is. But no, the answer is occupation.
Hey,
yes, right.
Yeah, that's
right away. He gets it. It was 60%, 59% was marriage.
See?
I don't know how that works. 59 and 60 doesn't add up to 100. So did they get a couple options?
It goes over 100, actually.
It does. Yeah. So anyway, that was according to Psychology Today, their article. Yes, thank you.
There it is.
And so we got thinking about let's talk about choices that we make in this world. It seems like a simple thing to talk about, but actually it's a very important thing because the choices you make will determine your future. And I know that sounds very simplistic. We could just shut off the show right now and be like, well, duh, no kidding.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize how they can make good choices, how they can do these things. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So when we think of big decisions in life, what do we think about generally? You said
Occupation.
Occupation.
Marriage.
Yes.
Ooh,
Marriage.
I got two.
What about religion?
Yeah.
What else do we have? Career. Where to live?
Yeah, that's
Larry
big.
just made a decision like that.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did, and he chose.
Larry?
Did I choose
What
wisely?
are you doing?
Choose wisely.
And it sounds like you did.
I think so.
Okay, he chose wisely. Actually,
You have chosen wisely.
Yeah.
yes, you have chosen wisely.
Thanks.
So anyway, where you
son.
live, the career, religion, all these things, we think of the big stuff as like the more important, right?
Well, because they are big.
They're huge.
Right.
They're life altering. Like marrying. So, like you said, marriage was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Occupation.
That's huge.
Yeah, and it's easy to see that that's a huge decision.
Right.
Occupation. That's another one. It's easy to see as huge. It's the ones that don't seem huge that
Like
actually.
picking white socks or black socks, does it really matter?
Does it?
Yeah, it does.
Or should you have chicken or fish?
Right.
Chicken. Chicken all day, every day. No fish. No fish. No. No fish. Yeah.
Larry and I would probably disagree.
Yeah.
I know you guys like fish.
I know.
you do.
I think I'd go for the fish too.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't think so, Jim.
It's funny that you think about it. We make probably thousands of choices a day.
Yes.
Most of them we don't really pay any attention to. We just, like driving down the road, there's a lot of choices that you just don't think about.
Right. And some of these are really big choices. But going back to like that Psychology Today article, and I'm not really into psychology and all that, but I like to see what other people think that's on the other side. They have, they were saying, interesting how they put it, like to marry or not to marry. That was the big decision, or to quit a job or not to quit a job. So it was like all the negative side of it too. And I was thinking that's interesting too, because, at first you're thinking not to marry, but that's, you have a choice if someone proposes to you, and you got a choice.
Right.
Oh, come on, I want to know what you think.
That's right. I want to know. And unfortunately, some people get a big fat no. So, yeah. So,
the other thing is, if you choose not to choose, you made a choice.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
If you kick it down the road, you just made a choice.
Right.
And so I'm not very good at making choices, honestly. I think Larry's not very good at making choices.
Oh, he chose wisely.
Yes, he did.
I take a long time.
It took him a while, but like just on simple things, when we go out to eat, it is a disaster. It
is not a disaster. It's just that you don't like to decide where we're going to go.
Either do you.
Chose poorly.
Yeah, I did.
Or,
Yes.
or when you go, I'm usually the last one to decide what to get.
Are you really?
Yeah.
The menus are too many options.
They are. That's
Well,
that's why.
Mike just chooses things that he
Is that
doesn't
why you
want to
like
eat.
That's right.
Is that where you like Raising Cane's? It's just simple.
It's just simple.
Boom.
You just
Got
you
one
know what you're
choice.
gonna get. Yeah, chicken tenders. That's it.
Oh, so anyway, the big question I think here is like, so how should we make these choices? And
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. I mean, honestly, I think it does matter. But yeah, it's now the obvious thing would be what?
Well,
That's next on the
praying.
list. Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you. Very good.
Maybe not so obvious. Like, what are you talking about, Mike?
This is a Christian show, so of course the first thing is you pray.
Pray about it.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That might be a good place to start.
Yes, with much prayer. I
Yeah.
think that would be the obvious thing. And I know that's the trite answer.
Yeah.
But honestly, it is, if you are a believer and if you're watching this show, most likely you are. I hope you are, or else what are you doing? Come on, jump on. But when you're a believer and you want to do what God wants, prayer is the way to communicate with God, and He likes
the
to.
way.
That's right, and this is how He communicates back with us, and so this is a very important step. We always say this: pray for us. That is vital, and when you're making decisions, some life-altering decisions, much prayer is important. Now, the next thing is just as important, and that would be.
Seek godly counsel.
Seek
gonna let Chuck
godly.
answer.
Oh, okay. Well, Sarah jumped the gun.
Yeah.
She got it.
Seeking
job.
godly counsel. Now, we don't have a Bible verse, but there's many verses on seeking godly counsel. We didn't write the
Right.
verses down here, but that's
Like Leviticus.
well, not in there probably, but yeah, but probably in other places in the Bible.
Well, and probably for the young people, it's important to seek counsel from older, wiser people,
Yes.
not just your friends.
And maybe from people who have made good decisions. Maybe not the ones that are sitting in jail.
Yeah.
just saying.
Although, I mean, they might have some input to say
Well,
what
there
not
are-
to do.
That's true.
That is a good point.
Well, we just talked about this last week, wasn't it? We mentioned
we did last week. The
King Rehoboam and the choice he made to
Right.
follow the counsel of his peers
Right.
Yes.
versus the counsel of the older.
Yep, and it didn't work out well for him.
It kind of was a bad ending.
No, right. No. And so another thing that we have here is that the notes say like patiently. So, but you make your decisions patiently, but sometimes you need to make your decisions pretty quickly. Like in the game we're going to play soon. we have to make
we had to make decisions.
That's right.
Yeah.
We recorded the game earlier. So, but anyway, hasty decisions usually don't go very well.
No, they
When
don't.
you're under duress and you have to make a choice, it doesn't generally go very well. And so think about that, young people. If someone is asking you to marry and say, give me an answer right now, be like, always say no. Always say no.
a no.
Yeah.
It's like, the infomercials.
Oh, you have to get it now
Get
in
it
order
now.
to get it at that
Right.
price.
Yeah.
That's right.
It won't last long.
In
Buy
fact,
now.
we're going to cut the price from, to $19.95 right now.
And
Buy
then
the
you hear,
card now.
wait,
there's more.
But if you call right now,
That's right. And that number. I remember as a kid, I was always like, how do they know that I'm calling right now when it's showing? And anyway.
I just saw this commercial
You're
3 days
overthinking
ago.
it, Mike.
I know. Yeah, my dad had to explain it. And I was like, oh,
So
okay.
yeah, talk about making decisions, being patient about it, and I think that's good advice. That we need to be patient in our decision making. My, that can go to an extreme sometime. I feel like my kids probably would say, they know Dad takes a long time to actually make a decision.
You too, huh?
I think it's a dad thing, maybe.
It may be.
Well,
It
it's
may
like
be.
the joke is in my house is if I say I'll think about it, that means no.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he
not
told me
the way to
last
say it.
night, and I was like, what's going to change about tomorrow? I'm not trying to push you to make a decision, but I'm like, I know that's what you tell the kids, but I'm like, let's talk about this. Like,
I need to know something here.
I gotta just think about it. I don't know, but patiently. So
I do think, though, that there are times when, like you say, you have to make a decision right away.
Right,
And if you have practice in doing this and thinking things
Yep.
through, not being hasty on all your decisions, the possibility or the percentage of time that you're going to make a better decision when you have to right away, it's probably better. It's probably going to go
Chuck's
well.
jumping ahead a little bit,
Oh, yeah.
but no, that's fine.
sorry.
Usually Larry does that.
Yeah.
But
well, I was going to say too. Usually they call it, like in shopping, impulse buying.
yes,
Yeah.
That usually is not a good.
unless they're Oreos, and then it's all right.
Well, then it's in an impulse, or is it something you already know?
That was going to go. What I was going to say though, you practice when you talk about practice the decisions. When you have convictions, when you have a base of what you believe, some things are easy.
Right.
Like I don't have to think about everything in life because I have a system of life that I want to go into. I'm going to follow. And so as a Christian, there's a number of things that are already in place.
Right.
And so when I walk into a grocery store, I don't even look to the alcohol section at all.
Right.
you know?
Right.
And for me, there's other ladies that are walking around. Well, this is Walmart we're talking about, right? So they're probably not very attractive, but because I'm a Christian, I don't.
Is this a kissing
It's
book?
not a kissing place, not at all.
Could be worse. Could be Piggly Wiggly.
It could be Piggly Wiggly, but because the baseline is there, I've already decided that these things are important to me, and I can just walk right through without having to be distracted or making these bad choices, or like in a grocery store, like you're saying, like if we're choosing to eat a certain way, the Oreos aren't going to tempt me.
Right.
The ice cream, well.
Okay,
Never mind.
Yeah.
So speaking of,
that's a good point. And I when I was reading over this, I really like this topic. It's something that's just thought-provoking to me. Aside from the fact that we're going to make our basis off our beliefs,
right.
It's very thought-provoking. I like the conversation about it. But there was a specific quote that I like. I'm not going to read it right now. I saw a couple other ones.
Can you read it?
This
Do you
one
need
fits.
your
No, I
glasses?
can actually
Okay.
see it.
Okay.
So this one fits good. This was from somebody named Roy T. Bennett. Don't know who that is. Somebody
he's
else.
an atheist.
Is he?
No, I'm not just kidding.
Come on.
I have no idea.
It could be because the quote fits either way. Okay, the quote is: "Beliefs are choices.
Yep.
First, you choose your beliefs, then your beliefs affect your choices."
Interesting.
That's good.
So, so once you actually have a belief system and you have a particular worldview, ours obviously being based off of Scripture, some of those things aren't even choices because
It's
we're not even going to
simple,
go there. It's simple.
Right.
Well, and I want to get back to this patiently one real quick so we can get back on track here. But
Yeah,
honestly, it's like talking about marriage. Young people are always wanting about marriage. Well, if you have a foundation of being biblically based, your choices, it's not like you want to start, well, are they even believers? If they're not believers, why are we even thinking about it?
Yeah,
So these things make our lives a little bit easier on our choices, and that's I think what we're talking about by practicing.
Right.
It's like I've already know what I believe about certain things, so I'm not even going to even go there. I'm not even going to. It's not even a choice for me. I'm going to go there. So anyway, patient. So we had much prayer, seeking godly counsel patiently. So we had an example of waiting patiently. Or where hasty decisions actually didn't go very well, and you had there Jephthah.
Yep.
And that
Jephthah.
was
Story where he said the next thing that walks into
Yes.
That's kind of a
not good.
not a good decision to say that.
Yeah, and he
should have thought that one through.
Yeah.
You have chosen wisely.
wrong one.
Chose poorly.
Yeah, he chose poorly. Sorry about that. No, but he chose poorly, and he had to sacrifice, and he kept his word, and he was honorable about that. But
That's always an odd story to me. Because
Why?
would God really hold him to that?
Vows are very serious.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
they
just, but I mean, for those that don't know the story, he vowed that the first thing he saw when he got home from the battle.
I think she just said that, right?
Well, yeah, but
okay.
but you didn't finish. You didn't say what he would sacrifice.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
right.
Vow.
Or he would sacrifice. He made a vow that if he won, he would sacrifice the
Yes.
first thing he saw.
And he was excited, and he was just, and I don't know if that was a choice so much
Yeah.
as he was just,
But he
didn't
did
really
make a
think it
vow.
out.
And the
Yeah.
first thing he saw when he got home
Was his daughter.
And yikes.
So, yeah, did he sacrifice his daughter?
Yeah. Yeah.
It seemed like he did.
Yeah, I think so. I
It's
mean,
kind of
that's
a
what it
weird.
seems like.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So,
Be
I think as a
careful.
dad, if I would have made that bad choice, isn't there other ways of sacrificing I could have her? Some other way.
You got to be smart about that. I mean, like the first thing that walks through my door, that's not a human.
Right.
Like, why am I sacrificing people
Right.
here? What am I doing here? You know. And then we have Haggai 1:7. Haggai, that's the first on the show. I think.
yeah, that is, yeah.
Congratulations to Haggai. Yeah, he makes it on the show.
It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, consider your ways."
And I think the last part there is it's very simple. Consider your ways. I mean, this
Yeah.
is where do you want to go? And we've had different podcasts that are similar type
Yeah.
things, but where do you want to go? And how you're going to get there is by a series of choices. It's
Right.
not
Right,
just
yeah.
like you're going to get there. So that's pretty important. Okay, so the next one we have here is how should you make these choices? Is in faith,
Right.
in
Yes.
trusting God.
Yeah.
So there is a time where we just don't know which way to go. And
Yeah.
it seems like it's pointing this way, and we want to know for sure. And you just can't know the future. And at that point, that's where you just got to trust God.
Yeah, there.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, because how long did we talk about this? About us
Many
moving?
years.
Many
Yeah,
years.
and
Yep.
it was a tough decision.
No
but
doubt.
It came to a
Absolutely.
point where it's like, okay, I've already sought counsel. We prayed about it. We're like, what are we going to do?
You were patient.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're very patient. And
So-
then all it took was taking them out to eat to Steak and Shake. Yeah.
It was the shakes.
It was the shake. Something in the shake. And he's
Ice
like,
cream does
"That's
it every time.
That's right.
But no, it came to a point where it's like, okay, we got to decide. It's either we stop talking about this and we stay where we're at, or we move forward.
You did say that like 10 times. We kind of stopped talking about it. No, but some of these big decisions are, because they seem so big, and they are big, we do want to make the right one.
Right.
And sometimes we get crippled by that. We
Yeah.
get paralyzed by that. And
Right.
we'd have to realize that with God, he might let us make that wrong decision, but he's not going to let us stay there. If we're really
Right.
after him, he's
Yeah.
not like a cruel God that's like, you chose poorly, so I'm going to let you suffer in
Right.
that. So it's he's going to get us around where he wants us. Yeah.
poor.
You don't want to do that. No.
Well, and sometimes we do make bad decisions, and we do need to suffer the consequences because
Yes.
it helps us to learn.
Absolutely.
Right. You need to learn from your mistake.
If we never
Yep.
learn from our mistakes, we're going to continue
To make
repeating
'em.
them.
I like to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
helpful if you
it's
can.
helpful.
But when
Yeah.
you learn from your mistakes, you
It's-
remember.
Yeah.
Sticks
Yeah.
a little better.
It does.
Right.
And one of the last ones, it's not an exhaustive list here, but it starts with smaller decisions. So
Yeah.
what we mean by that is, all those things. You pray, you seek godly counsel, you're patiently seeking these things, then you faith God. But honestly, it starts with the smaller choices. The little choices matter.
Yeah.
They turn into patterns.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're working toward a certain thing. And the example that we were mentioning, and kind of what you were mentioning, that Chuck and Jeannie have started doing this little
Well, let me
exercise
do it
program.
another way, okay? Because I thought about this too, and I was going to use the same
Okay.
thing. So, if I tell you, obviously, I didn't choose to be fat,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds reasonable, right? Well, actually, I did by little choices, right? It's the
What
little
do I
choices
say-
you
what do
make.
we say there?
Inconceivable.
I mean,
Right.
but somebody, if it wasn't me, if somebody else, whatever, if somebody
Yep.
chooses to be fat, hey, I
Right.
want to be fat. No, it's actually the choice that you made because you pick up the food and put it in your mouth.
Right, yeah.
So, I've actually made a choice more recently to say I can't be like this anymore.
right.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually, trying to daily stick to that and
Takes
eat
those
better
steps
and take the
and
little
those
steps.
steps,
And,
yeah.
and I realized that
Baby
there you
steps.
go.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
And you be faithful in those things. You develop a
Right.
pattern, and the
Yeah.
choices
Right.
become easier and easier. And that's what you've chosen. This is what I want.
I want to be around to be able to see my grandchildren.
There you go.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. It's not like you're
Well, it is.
You're really fat.
No, and But it's
I think Michael Thornton would say you're chunky. You could survive.
I was going to say you survive.
Poor Michael. Okay.
No, but that is an important point, that making those little decisions, because usually, especially like you mentioned, exercise, coming up to the new year, what does everybody do? They make their New Year's resolution.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's always something big. I remember Jonathan one time, he was going to work out with some friends of his. They would work out regularly, and I told him, I'm like, look, you can't, when you go in, when you work out with these guys, don't try to keep up with them, because you're not going to be able to.
Go at your own pace.
Slow it down.
Right.
Well, of course, he didn't listen to me. And the next day he couldn't
Peer
move.
pressure.
Right. And then he quit probably.
Yeah, he
and that was
quit.
it.
So it's like, yeah, usually we stuff like that, instead of jumping in all the way. Sometimes you have to, but generally
peer pressure affects our decisions and our choices.
It does, yeah.
Yes.
But generally, if we can
Good
take
or bad.
smaller
Right.
steps,
Yeah.
which lead to bigger things, then
Absolutely.
we can usually make
So
better decisions.
don't think about the little ones as being no big deal.
Right.
The little ones are just as important because they develop a pattern in your life. And you're like, well, like we were talking about, well, it's not life changing if I take a nap today. If I come home from work and I take a half-hour nap. And honestly, it's not life changing.
Right. No.
But if I do that again tomorrow, and then that's a pattern, and all of a sudden I'm a guy who comes home and takes a nap
Right.
for an hour or so. Well, that's what I've decided to do, and that becomes who I am because of those little things that that one decision that I make. So you have to decide, like, okay, what do I want to be? Do I want to be a godly person? Well, how are you going to be a godly person? Well, how about you start reading scriptures? You know, some of these things just make sense. You know, like,
Let's choose. Choose wisely.
yes, you do have to choose wisely.
The other thing too is like the little decisions, little things that we do that we don't know what the snowball effect is going to be. I'm jumping ahead.
Oh, the butterfly.
The butterfly.
Snowball.
But we don't know. I mean, I think of lots of examples where little tiny insignificant, what we think may be insignificant decisions actually led to big events.
That's right.
Right.
That were life changing for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I got another quote here.
Okay, he's got
All
a
right,
quote.
Yeah, that's a good
this
one.
one
Can
this
you
is
read it?
actually no. This is a different one.
Okay.
I got three.
Oh, you got three. I didn't hear
this.
this
was
one.
actually from one of my favorite speakers, John Maxwell.
Okay.
If you ever had a chance
Okay.
to hear John Maxwell. His quote is, "Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you.
Yep.
That's
You
good.
become your
Yeah.
choices, your decisions. That's what you are."
You are a culmination of your choices.
You know?
Yeah.
And going back to what I talked about before, I am what I eat, right?
Kind of. I mean, honestly, that is, you kind of, now yours might be a little bit more obvious, right?
Right.
And be like, okay, he doesn't miss too many meals, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But some other people's decisions, you can hide your decisions and,
Right.
and choices, but you can't hide them from God.
Right.
And
No.
so we're talking about sin
Yeah.
specifically there. And you want to be careful because if your life is full of sinful decisions, not so good.
Right.
Not so good. Those are definitely bad choices. So some examples from the Bible of people making decisions. Now look, we're talking about the Bible. There's a lot of decisions. So we
Right.
just
Yeah.
cherry picked a few
Yeah.
here. And the obvious one was Judas. Now this one was funny because we got in discussion about this one, and I was jokingly kind of saying that he really didn't have a choice here, but he did have a choice, and I think God knew that he was going to make this choice, and
He chose
he did.
poorly.
But yes, it needed to happen. But Judas made a choice. He didn't have to do this,
Right.
No.
And he did, and that was a bad choice. Okay, are we done with Judas?
I think so. I think everybody knows how that ends.
Yeah, an end of a rope. So
Yeah.
then Lot and Abraham. So Lot and Abraham are nephew or cousins or
Nephew.
Lot's his nephew.
Ne- Okay, and they come to the land, and they were together for a while, and then at some point they were like, your sheep and my sheep aren't getting along.
We're too big.
Right.
Yeah.
We're both
So
too
we
big.
need to pick. You go to the left or I go to the right, and they chose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Lot said, "Hey, man, looks kind of green over here."
Yeah.
So I'll take that side. And Abraham got the rocky side. And we know what happened later on. Lot ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
But so anyway, not a very, very good choice for Lot. But anyway.
But in the end, he ended up with a salty wife.
Yes, he did. A very salty one. Oh, where's the laugh track on that? Yeah. So the disciples now. Oh, here's something. We always say we talk about entertainment sometimes, but The Chosen season 3 is coming out, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And people always wonder, why is it called Chosen? I think it's called Chosen because he chooses the disciples here. Well, here's the disciples making a choice here. Jesus said, "Come and follow."
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Right.
They had to choose whether they're going to follow this guy or not. And they're like, who's this madman? You know, he was just telling us to drop everything and come follow him. I did like what some guy said. It was some comedian. And he was just kind of making fun of it. Like, people always use the disciples as an example of they gave up everything to follow Jesus. And you're like, they were fishermen. They were fishermen. What honestly were they giving up? Some nets.
Hey, wait a minute now.
Right. But no, that was kind of funny. But no, but yeah, they had to decide, okay, I want to follow this guy that is saying some things that are different, and I want to be a part of this. Yeah. So they had to follow that. So what else do we have there, babe?
We have Joshua.
Not our Joshua. Sorry, Joshua.
Yeah.
Joshua in the Bible, who fought the Battle of Jericho. And why don't we go ahead and just read that? Joshua 24:15.
Says, "And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord."
So this is a very popular on-the-wall verse, as I like to say. You know, choose you this day who you will serve. Now, by the way, this episode is not probably very popular amongst the Calvinist groups.
I was thinking that, but I didn't know if you're going to bring that up or not.
Yeah, I forgot, but maybe I'll put it in the intro.
So we're all assuming that we do have a choice.
Well, he says right here, choose you this day whom you will serve. So you could have had a choice to go back and serve the gods or the gods of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. And so Joshua here, he's like, as for me and my house, I will serve the Lord. And I hope that everyone that's listening will make that choice that, you know what, I'm determined to, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Now, once you make that determination, what are those choices that are going to determine that? You know, like, are we just going to get cable TV and flip it on and watch all the filth? Well, maybe not, because is that going to fit my goal?
Right.
You know, is that going to fit my goal? So, you know, we have to think about that. I want this out here to be for God. Well, that comes with things that we have to choose to.
Well, it's like getting married. When you choose your wife or husband, you exclude everybody else.
That's true.
So you got to make a decision.
Yep. Sorry, ladies.
Yeah.
He picked me.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I was thinking that Larry was taken, but yeah. But yes. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back with our game. And our not really a game, though, with Abigail, but she's going to have a story where we're going to choose our own adventure.
Wisely.
Yes. So, all right, Joshua, get us out of here.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back. Yes, we are back, and this is our halftime area. And as you can see, Sarah is not with us right now.
Right.
So we actually had a surprise visit to our house. Friends of ours from Virginia are coming down for a wedding.
That's awesome.
And they decided to swing by and say hi right as we were getting ready to start.
Yeah.
So she stepped out to say hi and not ignore them. And so anyway, this is just a game, but it's actually not a game. What are we doing, Abigail? Oh,
So-
wait. Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
There we go. Yeah.
That's right. Now what do we have?
Well, we're going to try something a little bit different this time because we're doing choices and they'll affect your future.
Yes.
So we are going to do a choose your own adventure.
A choose your own adventure, which your wife had never heard of.
I know. That's
Yes.
funny.
Yeah. I grew up on those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing?
So-
you're just going to read and we're going to choose something?
Yes, there's going to be a couple choices that you'll have to collaborate on.
We're going to have to collab.
Yes.
Okay.
Collaborate. Huh.
So
Is there
this
like
a
a
kissing
wrong
book?
decision? Like,
Well, there are ways to not succeed.
uh-huh.
So I guess you could say there's
so
a wrong
like a
decision.
good ending.
Is this a kissing book?
Bit of a challenge
No,
here,
it's
huh?
not a
It's not a
kissing
kissing
book.
book? Okay,
No,
so
it's not.
good.
Well, that's
Is it
good,
a
'cause,
kissing adventure?
All right, so this is set in the early church era, and you have to successfully get one of Paul's letters to the church.
Oh, mercy. Which letter is this?
Well, you'll find out, but it's the letter to the Colossians.
Oh, so we're like, we're handlers here and see if we can succeed.
What was that animated series with the...
I don't know. It's a Superbook?
Anyway, never mind. Well, I'll try.
Okay, let's go ahead.
All
You
right.
want to do music on or off? Which one do you want? While you're reading.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go.
All right. Here goes. You wait outside the prison, shivering in the cold.
Oh, no.
You wonder if Paul has finished writing his letter to the Colossians. You can't wait to return to your former home and see your parents again.
My parents?
Soldier,
Whose parents?
The character's
The collective
parents.
parents? Okay.
A soldier walks out of the prison and lets you inside. From there, a prison guard leads you to Paul's chamber and allows you to stand outside his cell. The sound of a quill scratching a paper reaches your ears. Tychicus. Paul looks at you and puts the quill down. You are surprised to see him writing with his own hands. You smile as a return of his greeting. Have you finished with your letter? You asked. Paul smiles. I am finishing this very moment. He goes back to his work, and a few moments later, he rolls up the scroll.
Okay, are we almost done with this part? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He looks you in the eyes before handing it to you. Make sure this gets delivered to them. Do not delay to give them this message. You smile. I will do whatever I can to get this to Colossae. God be with you, Paul calls as you turn. You walk away and examine the scroll, fully intact and with a readable message. All you have to do is get it to the Colossians.
Okay, I think we're at a lost audience. Are we almost there yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm enwrapped in the story.
Okay.
Mike's distracted.
It's too much music. Shut the music off, Joshua. I can't.
ADHD kicking in.
You have a long journey ahead of you, and you want to get there as soon as possible. You see the weather is good, but you don't know how long it will last, so you want to take advantage of the weather.
Yeah, of course.
You know where someone could get you a donkey to travel on, but
Oh.
that would be a very long journey, and the sea would be much faster.
I don't
But
ride
the
donkeys.
ocean could be much more dangerous. So do you choose to travel by sea or by land?
Well, 2 lanterns by sea, right? Or two
two
seas
By land and 2 by sea.
Two by sea or whatever. Donkey. Do you want to ride a donkey all the way
I
there?
don't
Are
wanna
we all
ride a
3 on the donkey?
No, it sounds very painful.
Well, it's the what? Do you take the fast track?
We got to
with the high
get there,
res,
right? Is this
or
an
the safe
emergency?
route?
You know, it's an adventure. Let's go on. Let's go by sea.
I go with say by sea.
Which sea is this? Is this the Sea of
Probably-
Galilee or the Sea of Tiberius or the
It's a Siberian Sea.
Most likely the Mediterranean. I would say.
Mediterranean?
Yeah.
So you're going by sea?
Let's go by sea.
Let's go by.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going by sea.
We could have called an Uber chariot.
Yes.
You board the ship and get some rest below deck. For the first few days, the sky is clear. But after the
Days?
first week,
What?
it's a long journey to Colossae.
Okay.
But after the first week, a sudden storm blows in. The sailors seem worried, and you wonder if they might return to Rome. But they assure you that the storm should pass quickly. After many hours, everyone seems worried as the storm has not subsided, but only grown larger and more fearsome. The captain announces that if anyone wishes to abandon ship and avoid the storm, they must speak now.
This sounds very familiar.
Abandoned ship.
Yeah.
Does this have something to do with the serpent? I feel like I'm going to get a bit on an island.
It sounds like a very familiar story here.
Yes, go ahead.
The ship's only lifeboat will be granted to those who want to escape, and they will go to the nearest island, Malta. Those who want to
Malta.
continue the journey aboard the ship can wait out the storm on board. Do you continue on the ship, or do you take the lifeboat to Malta?
I don't know. Do you say everyone must stay on the ship or else we all perish?
Yeah,
or
we all
perish,
Is
that's
this
right.
the story or is this a different one?
It's a different one.
I think it's different.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so what's our options again?
Continue on the ship or take the lifeboat to Malta.
The ship is
we take the
full.
lifeboat to Malta, then we got to figure out how to get to.
Yeah.
So you want to stay on the
from
ship?
where?
Well, if
Well,
the storm
but-
is bad, how's it going to be in the lifeboat? It might be worse. True.
Oh, that's a good point, man. You,
Crash against the rocks on
Yeah.
our way to
You have a
Malta.
dizzying intellect.
that is
I'm
true.
just getting started.
Can you guarantee us safe passage to Malta?
Can't guarantee
No,
that.
no
So what are we
guaranteed
going to do,
safe
guys?
passage.
We got to make a decision here.
I'm staying on the big ship.
Yeah, I say I stay on the big one. Go to the
Well,
big
I guess I'm outvoted. We are going to stay on the big ship because I was going to
All
say
right.
stay on the big ship.
You decide to continue on board, knowing you want to get there the fastest way. The captain knows the seas very well and can navigate through storms. You trust his ability to pull you through this one. The light from the sky is choked by the dark clouds. The captain demands the oarsmen to start rowing into the storm. The sails are raised, and you wonder if you've made the right choice.
I have
After
wondered
all,
that.
You've never been through a storm at sea.
What? Aren't we sailors?
Well,
No,
you're
we're
not
messengers.
a sailor.
Oh.
You go
we
below
live
deck
by
as
the
the
sea.
storm gets worse, and try not to worry.
And try not to puke.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out how Tychicus got to Rome.
You pray that God will keep the ship and everyone on board safe. You make sure the scroll is insecure in the leather bag.
It's insecure.
Insecure.
Is insecurely in the
okay.
leather bag. The rock of the ship gets worse and the captain comes down, worry painted on his face. We need you to bail out water. The storm's worse than we expected. He hurries back to the deck, guiding the ship's sails to catch the wind. You follow him and try not to worry. A large wave rocks the ship and fills it with water. Your small bucket that is supposed to take out water seems useless against the massive waves coming
It seems
towards
like
the
it.
ship.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Many
We
sailors...
need a pump.
Yeah. Where's the bilge pump?
That's right.
Many sailors throw barrels of various things overboard, trying to lighten the ship.
Maybe we should throw some sailors over.
Yeah.
A large wave hurtles towards the ship. The captain turns the helm to face the oncoming wave, but the ship doesn't turn in time for the impact. You are
What a
thrown
bad
overboard
What?
and helplessly struggle to reach the water's surface. You gasp for air and grab onto a piece of the hull that had broken off. You search for the ship, but can't see above the tall waves around you.
We're
A
in
wave
trouble.
lifts you high, and you glimpse some land through the heavy rain. Greece is just ahead of you.
Greece?
You turn your head.
Oh,
Those
like Greece.
on board may never realize hope is just ahead. Can you leave them and try to survive on your own, or do you go back and help them make it to safety? But if you go back to help them, you may never be able to reach land.
Oh, those are our options.
So
Is
do you
this a
choose?
kissing book?
Doesn't sound like it.
So
Can we summons a whale to swallow us?
Yeah. What's the two options again? Okay.
So are you going to go to land without rescuing or trying to rescue the sailors, or are you going to go back and help them?
I don't think I like being by myself.
Is this boat like what are we rescuing for?
we're in the water.
Yeah,
We're out of the boat.
Yeah.
I know. So what happened to the boat?
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Well, what are the
Oh,
sailors
no,
going to
no,
do?
the boat's not going, right?
Well, I
We're
didn't
just
sink,
gone.
but we're
we can choose to go back to the boat.
Well, how are the
Right.
sailors going to help us? That's what I want to know.
Well, you're going back to help the sailors
So
because
the
they might not
sailors-
know the land's there.
So the sailor's still on board the boat?
no.
They're in the water, but you were lifted up on a wave, so you know that the land was there.
Yeah, we got tossed overboard with a few sailors. So
Was
So
it
if we
Popeye
go
the Sailor
back to
Man?
Yeah.
help the sailors, we may lose our life. I was thinking this one. I like safety in numbers.
You want to save the sailors?
I want to go back and help. I
Well,
feel
I mean,
like they
if-
could help me.
That
Yeah,
seems like the
that's-
right thing to do in a
it-
book, but come on.
well, but I mean, really, if I think I'm with you because
Can you guarantee a safe passage to Greece?
Can't guarantee anything.
if we're floating on something, we have something secure.
Yeah.
Then I think we can go back.
What
and
do
help.
they? I don't know. Do
Maybe
they have
not? But
Okay, I guess
but I
we're
will
gonna
say
help-
this though.
What are you going to say?
Sometimes helping people that are drowning, if they're panicking,
They
it
pull
could
you
be-
down too.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be worse. So
We could go back and get them and tell them that,
They're
we'll keep
sailors.
you
They
on
should be
board
able to
serve
swim.
the ship.
right, I would say go back and help if we can.
We got a
Yeah.
mission here, man.
Yeah, I
We're
know,
supposed
but what would Jesus do?
Where's the scroll?
to. He would calm the sea.
Well, that's true. You got a point there.
All right, so you guys are going back and helping them?
Yeah, we're going
Nah, we're gonna help them.
That's my vote.
We're good. We're all gonna die.
All right.
Die trying.
You want to
this
get
is a
to
long
shore
one.
as soon as possible. You have no idea if the scroll is preserved through the water, even though it is bound by leather.
Oh, it's bound by
But you
leather.
can't leave the sailors behind to die. You
No.
abandon the piece of the broken hull and swim back to the ship. The storm does not die down, but seems to only worsen. But your mind is made up. You can't let these people die when you know you could have helped them.
No, we can't.
Inconceivable.
Yes.
A wave takes you under and you struggle to the surface. Part of the ship is still above the surface, but no one is on board. You see people clinging onto broken parts of the ship.
That's terrible.
There's land ahead, you call out,
Oh,
getting
land
the
ho.
weary sailor's attention. You point in the direction of the land. A sailor raises his hand and shouts to the other sailors. Hope spreads around and the sailors don't give up. They swim in the direction you pointed. You swim ahead, leading them to the land.
Wait, I thought we came back to get them.
You did, and you're showing them the way.
So we went back and said, hey, let's swim together now.
You were saying this is the way.
That's right, but I don't have that one.
This is the way.
Thank you.
There you go.
You glance behind you and only see about half of the people who were in the ship behind you. Your eyes water knowing their fate. I see it, a man shouts above the storm. I see land. A cheer goes up from the sailors, encouraging them to press on. A wave washes you onto the sand and you collapse in exhaustion. One by one, the sailors
We
arrive
made
on
it.
land and sit on shore breathing heavily. You
Now we're
stand
stuck
up
in
and
Greece.
walk a few paces. You have to keep going. A man follows you. Can I help you? You turn, surprised by his request. He smiles. Before the storm hit, you said you had a mission. You smile back. I could use help. I'm a messenger delivering a letter to Colossae. He follows you into the
That
city.
guy is too?
No, you
this
are.
is-
Oh, okay. I'm
This
confused.
is us speaking.
Yeah. Oh,
You must have
that's
zoned out.
Okay, I'm in third person now. Okay.
He follows you into the city. Weariness overtakes you, but you don't have any money to pay for an inn, so you press on. The man's name is Octavius, and he hardly ever stops talking, so that keeps you awake and alert. You see a group of Roman soldiers approach you.
Uh-oh.
You want to turn and walk out of sight, but they look straight at you.
It's the Roman soldiers.
What is your name? One of them asks.
Oh.
You know they are here to imprison you. They have been searching for you for a few weeks. but you must get the letter to the Colossians.
Yes.
You could give
Tell him your name
Octavius
is Indicaba Matoya, and then move on.
You could give Octavius the letter and let him deliver it, but you don't know if he can be trusted with Paul's writing. You could keep the letter and hope they let you out of prison and then deliver it.
Well,
You
why-
can't keep prolonging your decision.
Why am I going to prison?
They were looking for you.
Looking for me specifically?
Right.
Well, then I think it's a no-brainer. We got to give this to Octavius. Oh, wait, that's a Roman name.
Yeah, it is. And,
Yeah.
and Tychicus delivered the letter, so we got to stay. I mean, we're Tychicus, right? That's
Yeah.
what we were originally. Yeah, we got to stick with the
yeah.
story.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Well,
we got to deliver it.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to know, how did they know who he was? It's not like he pulled out a driver's license.
Yeah.
They
What's up?
they asked him who he was, and it's not in here that he said his name.
Said, I'm the wanted Tychicus.
Yeah.
So do you,
Octavius.
So do you want... That's
do you
right.
choose to entrust Octavius with Paul's letter, or do you choose to keep the letter and hope they let you go?
Promised Paul I was going to deliver it.
Deliver it?
Yeah.
But you can't deliver it if you're in the clink.
Yeah, that's true, mate. But you know,
What do you think?
I say we hold on to it.
Yeah.
Because he might go to Alexandria and change the manuscripts or something.
Oh, that's
Oh.
true. Yeah, that's probably what happened.
All right, so you're going to keep it?
Yeah.
Why not? We're in
You
trouble.
decide
I
Octavius
don't see
can't be
another
trusted
choice.
with the letter. After all, you met him a week ago, and Paul only entrusted you with the letter. You tell the soldiers your name. You are under arrest, one of them declares.
Why did he just give a false name?
That's right.
John Smith.
Two men rush forward.
I'm still Larry.
That's what I could have said.
Two men rush forward and tie your hands and lead you away. You turn your head around to see Octavius staring at you sadly. The soldiers put you in prison, and you wait for your trial. On the day of your execution, the soldiers come to your cell and unlock it. As they lead you away, you glance behind and see Paul's letter laying on the cell floor. A curious prisoner reaches his hand through the bars and grabs the scroll.
And who's this curious prisoner?
Unclear.
See, this is the problem, though, because the Bible says that we delivered the letter.
We did.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, but this is a story because we don't know if he, you know, but.
well, then can
you
we
may-
change our choice? I don't want to
Too
die
late
yet.
now.
So you
with the
get
head.
nothing.
That's
We
right.
do
You
lose.
lose.
Yeah.
Oops.
Good day,
It
sir.
wasn't a good day because he got
It was a gamble. I mean, because we didn't know Octavius, right?
his. Yeah. And that's the problem with these choose your own adventures.
Yeah.
You don't know, man.
I know it.
It's life.
It's life.
Life in the
It
real
reminds
world.
me of a real life story that I had on a boat, actually canoe. But
Yeah.
remember I told you that with
Yeah, you
Amanda
did.
and Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. You had to make some choices.
Yeah. And it was scary.
It was scary.
Uh-huh.
All right, Abigail. Well, we are gonna thank you for that. That was an interesting
Well,
game
now we're all
story.
dead.
Yeah, we're all dead.
Thank you for killing us.
Show's over.
Yeah,
I guess we all made bad decisions.
we were close. We were close. I think we almost made it. But anyway. All right. Well, thank you for that. We're
Yeah, that
gonna
was a
take
good
a
one.
quick break, and then we will be right back to finish our study on choices.
Yeah. This goes right along with what we're talking
That's right.
about.
Thank you for listening to the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back on, and we need a thumbs up there. All right, well, we all died.
Yeah.
So,
Execution
didn't
style.
yeah, Sarah didn't die. Maybe if she was here, she would have helped us.
We chose poorly.
We did choose poorly. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and finish choosing as we were talking here. So,
Are we going to choose the finish?
we're going to choose to finish. Whether we choose or not, we've got to finish. So this is, going back to Joshua, not our Joshua, but the Bible,
Right.
and choose you this day. And that is, it seems so simplistic, but it is major. Like, okay, I get that. I want to serve the Lord. And then it's now my choice. I've got to choose, what am I going to do to that? I'm going to get rid of those idols,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to serve those other gods that I knew in Egypt or wherever. And I'm going to serve the Lord and take it seriously. And so those are the choices that we're kind of talking about, little steps here that go with this. So why don't you go ahead, babe, and start off with Deuteronomy 30:19.
Says, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you.
Record, probably.
Okay, record against this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
Choose life. So yeah, this is this is a long list of things here that he's gonna
Right.
like. If you do these things, you will live,
Right.
and if you do these things, you won't live. And so he's like, choose. You got to choose these things. And once again, to me, this is simple. I think this is obvious, but I think it needs to be talked about, especially with young people listening, and they just take it for granted. Like, man, whatever. Not all my choices are going to be that important. Right. But the friends that you have around you, just a little bit of a little friend that can distract you or pull you in a certain direction, you may not think that was a big deal, but it's 5-10 years later, where are you?
Yeah, the friends are a big deal. I mean, we think about occupation and marriage and those kind of choices, and we know those are big, but I think choosing your friends.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week.
People have a big impact.
Or was that 2 weeks ago? I don't remember.
Yeah, well, we also did an episode on influence.
Yeah.
Friends have a big influence on you, and choosing the right friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the other thing I was thinking about, we just mentioned that verse in Joshua. That was near the end of his life, not life. I don't know. I was going to say reign, but he wasn't really king. But, you choose to love your wife.
That's right.
But that was at the end. And so the Israelites had the whole history of Moses. Then they had the time with Joshua. And then at the end, he's telling them, choose. Right. You're at that point now where I'm leaving. Moses is gone. It's going to be up to you guys, the next generation. You guys have to decide which way you're going to go. And that really, I mean, that's kind of like us all. By the time you get 18, 20 or whatever, you have to decide.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, my parents are making me do this, or then just doing it because you come to a point where you have to decide.
You're responsible now.
Yeah, your path. So
and that goes back to the one show we did on Seasons of Life. Because I mean, I mean, the first 10 years of your life, you don't really make any big decisions.
Not at all.
Somebody else was making them for you, and that changes in the next 10 years. And by the time you get to be 20 years old, it's like, okay, you got to decide what you're going to do, and that's where
those make a big
the
difference.
20 to 30. That's probably the time when you make the biggest decisions in your life, because that's going to affect everything you do.
But if you learned your lessons, going back to the Seasons of Life, if you learned your lessons during that first 20 years, those big decisions become a little easier. I'm not saying it's easy. Trust me, it's you got a lot to do. You got to make a lot of choices to make, and they're not always that easy.
No, they're not.
No, but but that's the thing, that your choices will affect your future. And I know by saying that, that's like, well, no kidding. But a lot of people don't really consider that. That verse in Haggai would consider your ways.
Right.
Well, how is this choice going to affect what I'm going to do, what my goals are, what I want to do? And this might be a little bit appropriate coming out close to New Year's Day. Not intended, but whatever, it fits. But a lot of people do make those New Year's resolutions, and most of them fail like within the first month because it's not really what they wanted. And I think I have an article on the website about that. What do I want? Do you really want that? Because if you want it, then you're going to make the choices.
Do what you really want to do.
So it leads to the segue, a perfect segue to my last quote.
Okay, I was wondering.
So the last one is one of my favorites by Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah.
It says, every act you've ever performed since the day you were born was performed because you wanted something.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, there might be some things that some decisions that are out of your hands, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. But most choices, it's up to you. You can even in a bad situation, you can choose how to react to it.
Right.
And even though it's not like for example, baseball was taken from me. I'm not on the baseball team anymore, and so I can't choose to be on. They cut me, and it was like, okay, now what?
Right.
And I didn't deal with it very good. Didn't deal with it very well at all.
Yeah.
But Galatians 6, 7, and 8, what does that say, babe?
It says, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of his flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting.
And so this is the one where we said it's going to affect your future.
Right.
So what you sow is what you reap.
Yeah. It's always amazing to me how people will make lifetimes of bad decisions.
Right.
And then at some point, the fruit becomes ripe. And now they're reaping the benefits of what they sowed, and they don't like it.
Well, what the worst part is, the same people, they've made a lot of bad decisions, and what they'll say is, I just didn't have the break some other people had.
Right, exactly. They'll make excuses of some sort.
Well, you smoked all your money away, you drank all your money away, you
gambled or whatever. And
I'm like, what do you expect's going to happen?
Just one.
Very much so.
It's like sowing I had tell my kids this all the time. Was like, well, you can't plant corn. One, you can't plant corn and expect to eat corn for dinner. That's not going to happen.
No,
There's
not.
some time. So, but also you can't plant corn and expect to eat watermelon. You're going to get corn.
I knew I was doing something wrong. I knew it.
It's like that movie Secondhand Lions.
Yeah, I'm glad you were going. That's exactly what I thought.
It's like corn. Nothing but corn. But we do that all the time. We plant something and then we expect something different.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you wanted something different, you should have planted something
And you
different.
should have
Yeah.
done something. So what
You
you
should have
sow,
done
you
something.
reap.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and just a second.
No, yes,
You said-
ma'am.
You said, but your choices will affect your future.
Yeah.
And they do, and we know that. We know that's obvious, and we think about big things like marriage and
Yep.
job
Yeah.
and whatever, but it's really also just as important, those little choices.
Yeah.
And like you held up the cup saying that you love me.
Hmm.
But in marriage, it's all the little choices that make a good marriage.
Right.
Like when everybody goes into marriage thinking, oh, we're going to have a great marriage and I'm going to love you
Yeah.
and all this, but it's the everyday,
Daily
Well,
grind,
the
right?
little-
That's what I
the
call it,
little
grind. It's the little
things.
things, though, but it's actually what we do.
Yeah.
How we communicate, how we respond, and we don't always do that well, but
It's not every day you make big decisions.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like picking dinner is not a big decision. Choosing to spend time with my kids is not a big decision, but it is a big decision in the future.
Right. Yeah.
Like you wonder why your kids hate you.
Yeah.
Because you didn't spend the time with them, you didn't make those decisions when they were younger, and you didn't invest in them. And same thing with your wife. You wonder why you're having problems. Well, because you didn't deal with them.
Right.
You didn't choose to deal with the issues, and you let it grow and grow and grow, and then you wonder what's going on.
Well, I think Sarah brought up a good point because we often think of love in a marriage as something from the movies, an emotional,
An emotional
But
response.
It's not.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, shocker,
man.
it's not. But it's a choice.
It
You
is.
have to choose to love your spouse.
Right.
It's not always easy at times, but you still have to make that decision to say, okay, I'm going to love my
Don't
spouse.
believe him, Barry. It's easy. Okay, it's
Is this
easy.
a kissing book?
Yes, it is in this case. Yes. So,
But no, that's a good point because marriage within that, if you want to have a happy marriage, you have to start with a decision.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to
to put the effort. I'm going to actually.
yeah.
I'm going to do the sewing.
Right.
And if you don't know how,
I want to do it.
find out how.
Yeah, find
There's
out some-
plenty of
find
resources
somebody
out
who's got a
there,
good
right?
marriage.
That's right. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's not a good place to
counsel.
start.
Pray and seek good counsel.
That's right. Yeah. And not only sowing and reaping, but notice that your choices not only affect you but others.
Yeah.
So, like, think about Eve.
Oh yeah.
Yikes! I mean, her decision affected the whole human race.
We were talking about this before we started. Eve is one thing. We know she made a bad decision, but who is credited with sinning?
Adam,
Adam. Yeah.
because he failed.
So he chose to listen to his wife, I guess. in a
Right.
way,
Ooh,
but,
yeah.
I mean, we can speculate why, but but he made a decision.
Yes,
and
he knew what to do, and he didn't do it.
Right.
Chose
Yes.
one.
So like our choices are going to affect many things. It's going to affect our lives. It's going to affect others, people around us. More specifically, our families. Now, there's a thing called the butterfly effect, and some people may know what that is. There's a theory out there about some meteorologists.
Yeah, it was actually, I had to look it up because I don't remember. I knew generally what it is, but it was this meteorologist, and he was just studying weather patterns and how things would impact the weather. And
Right.
the idea was you look at a point in time where it's current weather, and these weather patterns then depart and go into other areas, and then over time, one part of that piece, as it goes in one direction, may just bring great weather to one country, and another one could be devastation through storms.
Right.
And it's all very small pieces. So he was in his numbers, or has his program, he was using a computer to do simulations. If he rounded a 6-digit point up to just 3 digits, the variations in the weather patterns were tremendous.
I can imagine.
So it's just a small little change,
Right.
minute change have great impacts later.
Right, and I don't know how much.
And it was called the butterfly effect because
Well, butterfly flaps its wings, and across the country or world, a tornado happens. And whether that's true or not, I'm not so sure.
I don't think a butterfly would have that much effect, but the concept, I see.
Right,
Yeah,
the little things, the ripples go out, and that our decisions are eventually going to affect others, and it's huge. That's why we think about, if you want a generational Christians, and I know some people poo-poo, the generational things, but I would love to have my kids saved, my grandkids saved.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan for this. You can't just expect it to happen and be like, I'm done. I raised my kids. You're still part of this. You're a grandfather, and you want to have some say in your grandkids' lives.
Sure.
You want to be impactful in their life in some way. So I have to be intentional. I know you like that word.
Yeah.
I like the word. I'm not always good at it, but that is the intentional is a good thing to be.
Do you like intentional, babe?
I do like intentional.
Okay, but you look like you were going to say something. Okay, you're just getting ready for the next verse?
Yep.
Romans 14:7.
It says, "For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself."
Yeah, as a professor in Bible college said, no man is an island unto himself.
Right.
And I didn't believe that. At the time, I was like, no, man, we're self-sufficient, and I don't need anybody. And I realized, no, I need a lot of people in my life.
Yeah.
And there's actually a book that I read it really opened my eyes in some ways. And I know people are going to throw stones at me here, but it was called The Richest Man in Babylon. And I think it was by George Cleason or Clatter. I don't know. The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a financial book in some ways. And it was a study on why the Jews are rich. I know I'm not saying, all Jews are rich and they're all Goldberg. But they did have a way of getting money. And how the Jews specifically, of all people groups, as he was studying, he found out that they knew that people were for them.
Right.
And they didn't try to have to reinvent the wheel every generation. Yep. And so it wasn't like I have to build my garden, I have to do the animals, I have to do this, and I'm all right with being self-sufficient. But once you realize that, hey, my neighbor is actually there for me. If he provides bread, I can provide milk. We don't have to, we can create a community. And it made sense because humans are definitely a social creatures.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, hey, if Chuck's making milk, he doesn't have to worry about the grain. So you can do the grain.
Right.
And you don't have to do the grain. I can do the vegetables? No way.
There's
no way.
You can do the beef.
I can do the beef. And, so as we work together, then it makes our life simpler,
right?
And that we can, and so I can go wake up and go get a bagel, and that was his argument,
With cream cheese.
That's right,
And a slice
because
of
he
tomato.
was living in New York, and of course, what do? You go get a bagel, and so someone has already done all that stuff just so I could go get a bagel, and I don't have to go get the grain and all that.
Well, if you think about it, then you have to raise the grain. You have to harvest it.
Right.
You have to process it.
Prepare
You have
it,
to
have
have
all of that.
you have to do everything, and it becomes overwhelming, and you
Right.
you can't do it. Yeah.
Nope. And so we do need each other.
Yeah.
All that's not even the point of this.
Anyway,
But
we
the
got
point
way
being
off.
that we can't live unto ourselves, and that our decisions are going to affect. So as a father, as a husband, realize that with your position as head of the home it's a big one.
Yeah.
And your decisions are going to affect our kids. So like what we were saying, when we move, our kids don't have those choices.
No, they don't.
Yeah, right.
And they're going to be affected by that. So be aware of that you will be what you will be tomorrow because of the choices that you make today.
Yeah.
That is you're a culmination of all your choices. Now this one, Chuck and Larry weren't really involved in this here, but I thought this would. Am I supposed to say this on the air? No. Yes.
That was just for
Oh, okay.
whatever. I didn't know if we'd really do anything.
Because we were
with
talking
that,
about like
but-
top 5 choices that we made, and I said,
Right.
well, getting married, picking marriage, and getting saved, or
Yeah.
we have to exclude those because I think we'd all say that. So she asked me like, what are some of my top decisions? Right? What did I say?
You said moving to Louisiana.
That was a big decision because I was up in Minnesota.
Right.
I loved it. But I really felt like God wanted me to go down to the school down in Louisiana, and I'm glad because I met my wife. And that was a hard decision. Yeah, that was a real hard decision, but I'm glad I made it. Another one was, I guess you're not going to look at the notes.
I don't have that page. But anyway,
okay.
when we decided not to have any more kids.
That was another tough one. This is where
How many did you have at that time when you decided not to have any more?
7, right?
Well, I didn't know if it was like 3. You had 3, and you're like, okay, we're done.
No.
So 7.
No, we had all our kids, but so this is where like convictions come in the way.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like you have a conviction, so this is easy. Like we're going to keep, but we had health issues and we had different problems, and
Right.
we were having a lot of miscarriages and a lot of problems, and it was like, okay, what do we do? I've got to make a choice here, and that's when I just said, okay, 7's good. And so that was a tough decision.
7's the perfect number, right?
Yeah, it's a good number. Yep. But that was a good one. Homeschooling was another big one.
Yeah.
Because that kind of shaped our whole worldview for everything else.
Right, yeah.
And so homeschooling was huge. Not having a TV. Now, this one was,
when we first got married, I know y'all are like, what? You have a huge TV?
Yes, but when I say TV, we're talking about like cable and TV.
Channels,
But literally, we didn't even own any kind of screen when we first got married. And that really set our relationship and made us focus more on Christ and each other. And that was, I think, really good. Now, eventually, we did get a screen and we got a VHS player.
Right, the combo unit.
That's right, the homeschool combo unit. And not going into debt. This is one where, okay, I have a conviction. So any temptation, I've been tempted a number of times, but it was just like, no, the choice was easy because I have a conviction. I don't, unless it was just an absolute, I can't help it because I don't have any money. Right. But it was something that I was convicted about. So anytime it was brought to my attention, it was like, help me out here. And then I would have to go, I can't do it right now. And but I'm glad I did. And so that made some of those decisions. So those were a few that I came up with. And choices I couldn't help. Those when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Getting off the baseball team. And there's a few others, I'm sure, but I can't think of. And Sarah's top choices... it was leaving church and doing house churching, and that was a big one.
Was this a big one for you as well?
Well, I guess it was, but I guess I didn't even think about it until she said it. I was like, oh, that's a good one. I'll take that.
It really altered the course of our life. And I mean, church was my life growing up.
Right.
So, I mean, and
I
that
just
is
a good one. But she already took it, so I couldn't take it for me. But I was like, oh,
so was that a tough decision?
So this is a tricky one because at this point we are married.
Right.
So now it's I'm the head and she's supposed to submit but I don't want to go ahead unless I'm convincing her.
Right.
So having said that, go ahead.
How
hard was it?
Was it?
It was difficult at first just because it was so foreign and I just, I'm like...
Do you feel like you were doing something outside God's will?
A little. I mean, kind of. It felt like backsliding. I mean, I used to go to church and Bible study and prayer meetings and, everything was at church. So I'm like, so we just won't go ever again. I'm like, that's really strange. And, I just didn't understand. But obviously, I bought it.
She came around and she loves it.
And I love it. I think it's great.
And then she also said about doing the shindig. That was a big life-changing.
Yeah. Well, I would say that for your whole family, that was a big,
huge.
Yeah, it's a big
very
deal.
huge. So anyway.
And that's maybe where you see, like what we talked about, that ripple effect. Because I feel like, there's been a lot of families that have been affected by us doing that.
Yeah, and then a decision that we did under duress was when we were in West Virginia, where we met you guys. In 2005, we got in a little wreck. And it was snowing 12 inches, and we got in a wreck on a mountain because we had a van and the guy in front of us, flatbed truck, did not move because there was another accident, and he just stopped in the middle of the road. I'm coming down a mountain. I'm like, I can't stop, dude. What are you doing? And so it destroyed our windshield and front end, and it was a cheap van. So we had to get something, and there was 2 vans to choose from. I didn't really care for either, but we got the Chevy Venture.
Picked the right one.
Yeah, and Sarah loved it. I hated it. And I hated it about the time we got to Alabama and realized there's no air conditioning. Yes.
It was a great van. I had 5 kids under 5 and under at the time, and so I went from having 1 door to 2 doors and built-in car seats. I was like, this is great.
They had bells and whistles, but no, those are just, people want to know about our lives a little bit. And those were just some of the decisions we had to make that we thought were big. But they were based on a lot of smaller ones that we had made along the ways. And I don't know if you guys want to share real quickly I know the big one, obviously, moving.
Right, yeah. That was, like we talked about for us. I mean, like you said, I went back and forth for a couple of years.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a huge one.
Well, because we had to decide, I had to decide, do we want to move forward with this knowing that my 2 older sons are going to stay?
They're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Because they had their own life and they didn't want to give that up. So they...
In fact, one of your sons moved all the way across the country.
Right. Yeah. Jonathan ended up moving to Arizona. So
Arizona.
Yeah.
Why would anybody go to Arizona?
It's like, wow. But it was a big decision. And it's something I took a lot of time thinking about.
Sure, sure.
But
and you made a good decision.
I think so.
Yeah.
So,
Chuck, is there anything like you wanted to share real quick?
So one of the things, going back to salvation,
Yep.
okay, because and I don't know if it's the same for everybody. Probably not. It's been different for everybody. But I mean, my salvation, I got saved when I was 9, 10 years old. I can't remember exactly the date, but I remember when it happened. But I remember when 9, 10 years old is when I got saved.
It was so long ago.
It was so long ago. Yeah. But it was actually 10 years later before I really decided I want to follow God.
Right.
And I think that's important because some people may not be there, or may not be there, but there's a difference between just saying, I want to be saved,
Right.
Yeah.
and I want to do what God wants,
Right.
and let Him lead, and I'm going to follow His leader. So that I think that was a huge point in my life,
Sure.
because then it affected everything else.
That's a good point, because we threw out salvation as if like that's, but
It's a given.
right? And to us that's a given here.
it's a given, right.
But there is that point where it's like, okay, am I gonna take this seriously? Am I really going to? Because like you say, you got saved at 10, you got saved at 9, 10. You got saved later. I got saved at 17. So at that moment, it was like, okay, it's serious.
Yeah.
It wasn't completely serious until I went through some things, and then it was like, okay, do I really believe this?
That's
yes,
that's
I do.
why I think for everybody, we come to a point where you have to say, okay, am I going to follow this or am I not?
Yep,
Right.
exactly.
And you can't. That's the thing with the Bible. It's like it's hard to have a middle of the road. It's either you follow the Bible and you
choose you this day.
or you don't.
Right.
So
Right.
It's,
Yep.
You can play around,
It's
but-
black and white. It's
Yeah.
right there.
Black and white,
That's
clear
right.
as crystal.
And it's not a buffet, as I said at the
That's right,
shindig.
yeah.
You don't get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
It's
No.
there.
It's there.
If you're going to believe it, you believe it, and you do what it says.
Right. If you do that, you're just starting your own thing. You're making your own God.
Right,
But
right.
it's either the God of the Bible or
the
not.
other one I had that I did list out of here. The other one I put down here was when I listening to my wife. And it's like, okay, that sounds weird.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you.
Hang on, guys. Don't start throwing darts at me or anything. I'm not saying you.
well, no, your wife has some good
Right,
counsel.
you don't just make the decision of yourself.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying I'm just going to do what she says. That's not the case. But once you realize that God gave her to you for a reason, and part of that is she has thoughts, she has understanding, and she comes at things at a totally different perspective that can benefit you. So you need, it's helpful to you if you'll listen and take the counsel and actually make that part of the decision.
Absolutely.
And if you try to make the decision by yourself and leave her out, oh my goodness, that's
She's
not
got a
good idea.
perspective that we don't always
No.
see. And that's why God gave us spouses, vice versa, husband and wife. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, I'm still learning that.
Okay.
I could tell stories that.
Pam, is it all right? Can you tell some? No.
I'll tell you one real quick. It's funny. We were first married. I think we.
All right, we're out of time.
we hadn't even been married a year, and we lived in this little duplex. We had a washing machine. We didn't have a dryer, so we used to hang the clothes out. We were gonna go somewhere, and I had a pair of jeans. My favorite pair of jeans on the line. Pam's like,
I thought it was a pair of underwear.
no, it's a pair of jeans.
Okay.
Yeah. She said, you should take those in. I'm like, I'm not going to take them in. They're a pair of jeans. She goes, no, I really think you should take them in case somebody steals them. I'm like, who's going to steal a pair of jeans
Off the line.
off the line? So I didn't.
Yeah.
And we came back.
Guess
and
what happened?
Guess what was missing?
Jeans are gone. Someone wanted new jeans.
I should have.
You know what really happened? So here's what you don't know. So as you guys left, she called a friend and said, "Can you go pull those jeans off there? And teach my husband a lesson."
Hey, I never thought about that. Pam,
That's
we're
right.
going to have a conversation.
Did that happen? I don't know. Anyway, no, we are. I think we're at the end here. We thank you very much for choosing to
That's right.
listen.
Yeah.
I am really appreciative of all the
And
people who listen and
You
watch.
have chosen.
Yeah.
Yes, you have chosen wisely.
And you can choose to go
To the
follow us-
website?
and follow us on Facebook.
Yeah, if you're on the Facebook page,
Like
it is
and subscribe.
Facebook. It's facebook.com/Mike Charleston Show, and there's probably like 100 people over there, and we can discuss things. You can see pictures, you can see the
Right.
chart. We would like to get that going. I don't know how else to get a community built. I'm not a big Facebook fan, but it is a good place to do all that. But you can go over there if you like the show, man. Tell other people about it. Tell them to go to YouTube, like and subscribe. I don't know why you would want to watch the show except for to see what we look like and all that kind of stuff.
That's right.
See how fat Chuck is.
That's right.
Wow.
I don't think he's that fat, but
Hey, you can watch if you watch for a year or two, maybe you'll see if
That's
I
right.
actually
There you
stand
go.
with what I said. Hold me
him on it.
accountable.
That's right. You see, next year, be like, hey, look at him.
He'll be all buff and
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm cheering for you, man. Yeah, we're cheering for you. So anyway, thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joshua Charleston, the producer for The Mike Charleston Show. If you enjoyed listening to the show, please help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a review, or just tell a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. We look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show. The Mike Charleston Show.